when I first started leading. In my mind, I needed to be the person out front, the, forerunner, the person who did all the things, made sure everything happened, the micromanager. That is what I believed leadership to be. Now, 30 years later, I now know leadership is not how much I can do, but it is how much I can get done.
They say it's lonely at the top. They're right. But you don't have to scale your company alone. Welcome to the Scaling CEO. I'm Glenn Gow, the CEO Success Coach. On this podcast, I sit down with top performing CEOs to uncover the hidden patterns and frameworks behind their success so you can avoid common pitfalls and accelerate your company's growth. Now, on to the show. Today, our guest is Dr. Karla Johnson, the CEO of the Pennsylvania Leadership Charter School. She is a pioneer in online education. Dr. Johnson's path to the C-suite wasn't typical. She started with a BS in physics, discovered a love for teaching, and then scaled her own career from teacher all the way to CEO of one of the largest and most innovative online schools in the country. She is an author with direct talking titles like My Big Year, First Year as a Cyber School Principal, and The Buck Stops Here, which is a great phrase for anyone running an organization. She defines her identity with three simple words: wife, mother, educator. I love that. But what makes her a fascinating guest for this show is her unique scaling challenge. She isn't scaling a software product, she's scaling an educational mission. When the pandemic hit, her organization's customer base exploded by over 60% in a single year, a surge that tests the limits of technology, culture, and quality. She's on a mission to help her students go forward, go boldly, and go lead. I'm excited to find out how she does the same for her company. Karla, welcome to the show.
Glenn, thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. I really do appreciate it. We
You
have
are
to
quite welcome.
we have to hire you at Pounce.
So let's start by talking about you. How do you scale your leadership style to balance the collaborative, nurturing role of a mother and an educator with the decisive buck stops here role of a CEO?
Sure. So I think one of the things that I have learned and developed in my leadership is to have a collaborative mindset, right? When I first started back in the 1900s, when I first started leading, in my mind, I needed to be the person out front, the, forerunner, the person who did all the things, made sure everything happened, the micromanager. That is what I believed leadership to be. Now, 30 years later, I now know leadership is not how much I can do, but it is how much I can get done, right?
Well,
With
that's
the
a
use
wonderful, wonderful phrase. Thank
with
you for
the
that.
use of my entire team. So I have an extremely collaborative mindset when it comes to leadership. And I think that having the correct people around you, making sure that you can trust the leaders who are around you to do what it is and oversee their areas. Um, I think for me, that has been the most impactful process to my leadership, being able to trust and being able to sort of break that staff of leadership and give a little bit to each person to allow them to be as creative to do what it is that they need to do in our school community.
And I share that same approach when I am talking to my CEOs. I talk about how you need to surround yourself with people who are better than you are at the thing that they own, the function that they own. And you can get your job done if you have this talent. You can delegate if you have the talent. You can lead if you have the talent. But the key thing is having that talent. So thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about scaling the company. So you had an experience where enrollment surged from about 3,000 to over 5,000 in 1 year. So that's that most CEOs want that kind of growth, but in your world, that could be a crisis. So looking back at that fire drill, what's the one scaling insight you learned that would have saved you
the most time and stress in that growth period?
So you're absolutely right. It was fire, drill, fire happening, all the things. It was an extremely stressful event. Outside of the pandemic, right? Our staff, they did a phenomenal job with being able to support the influx of students. However, I do not believe that as an organization, we were prepared for what was about to happen and what was coming. And so I feel like we may have been behind with our ability to um, support the influx of students while at the same time not stressing out our staff, right?
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
think that the leadership at the time sort of like waited to see, like, okay, one, we didn't know how long the pandemic was going to last. We are a public cyber charter school, so complete school choice option, right? So are parents going to bring their children to us? Are they going to stay? Um, if they stay, what does that mean for the growth of our organization? And so we doubled in size as far as staff members were concerned. And we sort of didn't hire staff right away. We worked through, I think, the first part of the pandemic, that 2020 time frame with the current staff that we had prior to the pandemic. And then we started to hire people. We also hired a lot of people at one time, which I would not recommend doing.
Uh-huh.
That, that was not something that I thought was a good idea. And at the time, I was not the CEO, so I can totally sit back and Monday morning quarterback on on the whole process, but it's not something that I would recommend. And I would recommend making sure we had the infrastructure to not only bring in additional students, but also bring in additional staff at the time.
Well, so we're talking about scaling the organization. Let's talk about scaling you for a moment. From a physics teacher to a principal leading 32 teachers to the CEO of an entire organization. What's your best piece of advice for leaders who are struggling to scale personally to finally get out of their near term focus and start leading the entire district? Now, we've already talked a little bit about surrounding yourself with talent, but give us some more insights about you and how you had to scale.
So for me, one of the things that I knew when I went into education was that I never wanted to be um, a career classroom teacher. I always went in with the mindset and the reason why is because my first teaching assignment, I was working for the school district of Philadelphia, and they sent me to a school that did not need a physics teacher. They already had one. So while they figured out what I was going to do or where I was supposed to be, they assigned me to assist the assistant principal. So
Hmm.
I was, 3 weeks into a teaching assignment, and I had taught no classes, but I was getting a ton of administrative training. And so from there, I just knew, like, I don't want to be a classroom teacher. Really enjoy the administrative part of it. So I would say the very first thing that happened to me was I had a mentor, inadvertently, but that assistant principal became my mentor and really what sparked my interest in school leadership. So after that experience, any school that I went to where I was just a teacher, classroom teacher, I looked for opportunities that would help me build those leadership muscles, right? So I would
Hmm.
volunteer to be the teacher liaison where I was talking to the senior administrators about what the teachers needed. I would volunteer to be a teacher coach, right? So all the things that I could possibly do, a union representative, I would do all of those things just volunteering. And then I began to seek positions that allowed me to utilize some of the skills that I had developed over the years. So I became a director of academics for the Center for Literacy, which was an adult literacy program where I wrote the curriculum for them for their adults. And then from there, I moved on to the director of academics, not the director of academics, the director of operations for a charter school. And so if the elevator broke down or if, the ceiling
Mhm.
was leaking, like I had to do it. I had to figure it out.
Wow.
I was working with the accountant. I was doing a lot of different things in that particular job. And you don't think like, why do I need these things? But all of those things played a part in where I am today. And so then I became a principal and then the chief academic officer. And so with each one of those opportunities to lead, I
That's
think that
great.
I just continue to gather up all the different skills that I could possibly get to make sure that I was ready for this particular seat that I'm in today.
That's a great story. And so you were in a continual learning journey, it sounds like. So
Definitely.
let's talk about the message you gave to your 2025 graduates. Go forward, go boldly, go lead. Let's talk about how that applies to you expanding the model of the organization you're running today.
Sure. So I recently had an opportunity to present at the Business Today conference in New York, and that was one of the things that I shared. And that they are the participants in that conference were all college students. And so one of the things that I shared with them was that this leadership journey really requires you to step out of your comfort zone, right? So naturally, you may be an introvert. You may not, want to be the sage on the stage. You may not want to be out in the front and that loud cheerleader. But if you want to be a leader, you have to continue to put yourself in situations where you have an opportunity to lead. And like we said before, and an opportunity to grow. And I think that that's so important. So when I say, make sure you go out into the world and you actually lead, another part of that is understanding the people that you're trying to lead. Because if you
Right.
don't understand the organization and you don't understand the people, they're never going to follow you. Right.
Love
And so
that.
you're going to find yourself on a long journey by yourself.
That's beautiful. And I'm going to take us to a different place now where your skill was built on technology before technology was cool in schools. And as AI becomes advanced enough to genuinely assist in curriculum mapping and student support and even teaching, how does that change the way you think about scaling? Does AI become a new teacher in your model, or is it just a better tool for your human ones? Tell us about the future of AI inside of your organization.
Sure. So we are approaching AI as a tool that teachers can use, that students can use to support the growth and the learning of students. When AI first came on the scene, probably around 2021, 2022, many school districts said, nope, we're banning it. No AI here. Students don't use it. But I tell you what students did do. They used it. They learned how to use it and they learned how to use it well, right? So our approach was we know the moment that you tell students not to do something, they are going to learn how to do the exact thing that you don't want them to do. The other side of it though is that I went to a conference, an education conference, and they were talking about the use of AI long before we actually knew what AI was. So, like, if you are using like Stitch Fit or some other, like even Amazon, they were using AI to determine like what your algorithm was, the things that are important to you. So, in my mind, I said, listen, this is already being integrated into the workplace. So the best thing that we can do to prepare our students to be leaders and to be prepared for when they graduate is not to shun AI, but to study it and to teach them how to appropriately use it and to teach our staff how to appropriately use it.
That's great.
So Yeah, we've sort of embraced it, and we are looking for we have a research and development department within our school specifically for that, to study AI, to study what is next in technology, what is next in education. So we're always looking for what is next and what is going to help our students
That's
thrive.
wonderful. Wonderful. I hope you continue to lead that way. I think everyone will appreciate that. So, Carla, we're out of time. So, how can people reach out to you?
Sure. So you can definitely reach me at the Pennsylvania Leadership Charter School. That is palks.org. You can find me there. My email address is there. So I welcome any additional conversations that your audience may have about what it is that we do at the Pennsylvania Leadership Charter School or how we can partner with other companies. We're always looking for that networking opportunity. So I welcome all things communication to all of the people who listen to your podcast.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your leadership journey and scaling journey with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Glenn.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Scaling CEO. If you found this valuable, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with a fellow CEO who could benefit. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please give us a quick rating as it really helps more people find the show. I'm Glenn Gow, the CEO Success Coach. See you next time for more proven strategies to grow your business and leadership.